if we don't push the Green New Deal through, where baseball's gonna die. Imagine getting all the billionaires on it. For today, our number one, our top topic, and this is very, very, very sad and very scary, but MLB offense is nearing all-time. Okay, I shouldn't take that mode. MLB offense is nearing all-time lows, and hitters have theories. Pitching is out of control. Of course they do. Pitchers are out of control. So this is an article written in the New York Times by my good friend and colleague Eno Saris and Jason Stark, two of the best in the biz. The research they did for this is great. Go read this thing in The Athletic if you haven't yet. It's really well thought out, and I have a couple additional points to add, but we're going to quickly go through it because we're going to talk through it. Hitters simply need to hit the ball more. Well, I'm here to tell you, Maiku, they are hitting the ball more. The strikeout rate has gone down 4 straight years. It's actually being put in play more. It is. Analytics and strategic. So we've always been analyzing and doing analytics. It's just we have math now involved. We actually know for sure what's happening. The difference is our certainty, not what we're doing, just our certainty. We're still looking at the same shit. We just have ways to quantify it, ways we didn't have before. It's not like in the 80s they were like, we're choosing to not know anything. They just didn't know anything. Had frickin' Pete Rose had an iPad, he would have used the goddamn iPad. They were still looking for these same answers. They just didn't have the tech. It's a misunderstanding of analytics that hurts hitters. But let's go through some of the points they make, all right? I know, we got to take a little time to go through this. All right, so here's the case they're making. And let's talk about this. And it's interesting to hear what you guys have to say because that's what this is for. But the 2024 league average was 241. We're talking about how it's the same as Bochy. So this is just an interesting tactic. Bruce Bochy's backup catcher, and we're basically at his career stats in terms of slugging and average. We're down 3% in just about everything. Less home runs, less doubles, less runs, less hits at the beginning. Now, historically, got to remember, these things are usually down in the beginning of the year anyways, and this is actually pretty close to what it was the year before. So this is year over year from last year. The year before that, though, it was very close to this. And remember, we had a guy break a home run record for the Yankees that year. So it's not like no one's doing well, you know. Fewest doubles in a season. The doubles thing is interesting, but I think that shifts. So we'll talk about that in a moment. Only 25 hitters in the sport are on pace to hit 30 home runs. As recently as 2019, there were 58 of them. Now, I'm gonna give Eno one of these. Come on, guys. Don't ever bring up home run totals in 2019. We can't say there was 58 guys with 30 home runs in 2019. There were 5 of them on the Twins, and 8 teams broke the league record for homers for a team in the same year. Let's not use 19 as a home run benchmark, please. 8 teams broke a record. 8. That's nuts. So maybe we don't do this comparison, but the point still stands. It's still lower than last year. It's just not as much lower. And the hits per game is low. Okay, cool. We got it. Guys aren't throwing meatballs as much. So, for example, 2-0 fastballs, they're gone. Everyone throws sliders still. There's no such thing as get me over. That's gone. One of the main cases they make is everyone's throwing multiple fastballs. Based. Everyone is throwing multiple fastballs. Relievers are throwing multiple fastballs. Everyone's got a 2-seam and a 4-seam. Everyone's got a sinker and a cutter. Everyone's got a cutter and a 4-seam. Lots of guys have 4-seams, sinkers, and cutters. It's the new swing approach. All you do is hit home runs, walk, or strike out. Eric Anderson, it hasn't been that way since 2021. Like that's just not the 3 outcome thing has not been what guys are going for since after COVID. Seriously, it's not about hitting home runs. It's about hitting the ball hard. And like I said, the strikeout rate has gone down every single year since then. It's gone down 0.5% every year. So the ball's being put in play more, but there's still not hits. Why? Let me give you a quick. I'm gonna try to make this as simple as humanly possible. Okay. Here's the dynamics at play. When a team is deciding whether or not to steal a base, for example, they say, what is the value we get if it's successful and what do we lose if it's not? If you're trying to steal second base, you're trying to grab 1 base for the price of 1 out. That's the currency you're trading. You're paying possible outs for a possible base. No matter what, getting 1 base or 1 out is always going to be way more valuable than 1 base. Unless the percentage of the time you are safe is like 90+%. So that's why steals still aren't getting up where they want them to go, totals wise, because the teams are still like, it's still not worth it generally. All right. So like now think of this as hitters. Hitters are trying to hit the ball hard. Balls that are hit hard are way more valuable to teams on average most of the time than balls hit softly. Yes, soft hit balls are hits sometimes, but they're rarely doubles, and they rarely produce RBIs. As opposed to hard hit doubles into gaps, those create way more runs. Home runs are automatic runs. You're hitting a homer, you automatically get the run. So it's guaranteed value for the team for winning. Does that make sense? Now, you can't only go for these things. It needs to be situational. I think that's what we're figuring out. Figuring out when should we look for these things. When are the best times to do this? And that's the change we're seeing. And that's why guys are striking out less. Guys are having A swings, B swings, and C swings. We're seeing them in bat speed. Like, they're like, in this count, I swing this hard. In this count, I swing this hard. And like, that's just happening based on their approach. And then some guys have a swing the whole time. Stanton, his is just as hard as he can every time. So they try to get guys that hit with power. They try to get guys with get on base. That's why OPS is really valuable, because those guys get on base and hit for power. Here's an example. Nick Allen, right? He's not a high exit velo guy, but he can run. He needs to not strike out. He needs to walk, and he needs to get on base, and he needs to be able to hit the ball into the gaps every once in a while. And that needs to be his game, but he's still trying to juice it. And he just can't, like, his hard hit balls are 97, and that's not a homer that often. So everyone throws a bunch of different pitches. We have wrinkle pitches, and pitching is harder in that way. And we can design pitches in a day. Like, you can learn a new pitch in one day. And that is something that hitters don't have a version of that. So if you think about it this way too, what is a hitter-pitcher dynamic? We have a hitter reacting to pitchers. So we have an engager and we have a reactor. Now, the people who are engaging are reaching their potential earlier, faster, and they have more information. So basically, the ceiling from between what we knew and what we know now with pitchers has come way farther than it has for hitters, because they just had that. We have that ability to get better. We had that room to improve with science. That has happened, and the hitters just didn't have time, so they're being left behind. So there's probably something rule-wise or actual physics-wise about the game that needs to change in order to make this balance again. It's not in 10 anymore. I've come around on that a little bit. So everyone's throwing crazy. Like, we talked about this a few weeks ago. Seth Lugo throws 5 breaking balls. Even guys with not great four seams. Like, for example, Seth's sinker's not great. It's not. But he throws great breaking balls, and he's leaned into that. And they're all good because he can roll out of bed and spin it. And that's why he's doing so well. Batting average against four seamers 15 years ago, 277. Batting average against four seamers in 2024. Boom. You're seeing way less of them, and you have to learn how to hit the other pitches because you're not seeing them as much. And then, is it even possible to hit a double? So they also surmise that outfield shifting has gotten really, really good, and they're taking away these doubles, which guys are hitting more. Guys are hitting the gaps more, but we're seeing, I don't know if you noticed, Jose Siri's going off. Cedric Mullins has been incredible. Doyle from freaking the Rockies, who gets no love. That guy's nasty in center. Like, these center fielders are like crazy. And I feel like we've had some of the craziest web dreams ever this year. They're covering space like they never covered before, and they're shading guys one way or the other, and now that's helping. And now of course, now we're talking about like limiting outfield shifting, which is, I don't know how you enforce that, but they're going to go for it. Slugging on balls in the outfield, way down. So guys in the outfield are better. All right. So is it the baseball? Here, animal grumbling, something that was the latest batch of baseballs. Of course we did, but we get it. Scientific evidence is there. The ball has not been carrying this year as it has in years past. It's down a little bit, 4 feet on average. Maybe the ball is different. I don't know why the ball would be deader. I don't know why they would do that. It doesn't make any sense to me, because it seems like all they want is offense, and then they're deading the ball. It's weird. But maybe they're trying to incentivize not trying to hit homers, and it's backfiring. Must be the humidor. Everyone's got a humidor. When balls are put in the humidor, guys, they absorb moisture. When those balls then dry, that moisture expands, and the ball's not always perfectly symmetrical anymore. So if you go from, if it's coming from somewhere cold and then somewhere hot and then back to somewhere cold, it's going to try to shrink, but it's not going to shrink uniform. That happens sometimes. That kills balls. So sometimes you get a bad batch, but I don't think this is pretty consistent. So they're dropping their bat weight. That's interesting. That could be it. That's probably part of it. It must be the weather. When we first spotted these messy offensive numbers in late April, we decided to look the other way. Average temperature has gone up. So far in June, we point out the weather has finally warmed up. So is the offense. Okay, offense has increased with warmer weather, and it's going to be interesting to see how much it increases. The early season, month-by-month temperatures last season were actually colder. Offensive numbers were higher. Okay, so it's not fully explanation, but it could be part of it. Is it possible it's just early? I mean, maybe. I don't think that's true either. So what do? We're going to get a rule change to make pitchers less nasty from a foundational standpoint. And here's my proposal. Now that I don't have to pitch anymore, I would have railed against this. But let me be very clear. I am now a media individual, and I totally understand where you come from now. I'm just saying this from a anecdotal, like, interesting standpoint. But if I were playing, I would hate this more than anything in the world. If you lower the mound, you're going to create, guys are going to figure out approach angles and stuff. They're going to figure out how to get longer extension. They're going to figure out how to get, like, the high fastball is going to stay good. Then if you move the mound back, yeah, fastballs aren't going to be as hard to hit, but you're just going to get more breaking balls, and they're just going to break farther. You're going to have bigger breaking balls, more movement on pitches, and it's going to go from velo to movement, and it's going to, might be even better for pitchers. It's going to throw timing off both sides. Hitters are still going to be off timing and have to figure that out. So if you move the mound back a foot or two, that just gives another foot or two to break. So, yeah, you might help with velo, but you're going to hurt with breaking balls, so it's kind of, and that's what they're throwing more anyway, so, like, that's not going to help. So what you need to do, you need to bring in the ABS and do the challenge system. So don't do ABS because ABS is boring, but do the challenge system. So give a hitter the opportunity to establish the strike zone. That will literally bring back the value of learning the strike zone. That's a skill. That's you can study it. You can go into that machine and watch that guy throw the way he throws and just see where the pitches are and see if they're strikes and get that muscle memory. And then make the strike zone a little smaller. You got to shrink the strike zone. And you got to include only pitches that are able to be hit. The pitch down and away in the corner, still very hard to hit hard, and they should probably shrink it. So this is the hang up right now, right? We don't know if we want to go like full ball in the strike zone, if we want to go half the ball in the strike zone, if we want to go a 3D strike zone that's like a box and like a percentage of the ball needs to be in it for a certain amount of time, or just touching the zone at all as a strike, because that's what it's historically been. I think that if you shrink it, so if you shave like an inch off all the way around or something, which seems like a lot, that's a lot, or half an inch off all the way around, then it needs to be if it touches the zone. So you can still hit the black, whatever, it's just harder to do. I think that might even it out a little bit. Maybe we try that.